And I go back again to what he was saying of all these things, principles, and yes, they are principles, but they are guiding. And that is what should guide you in terms of when you group up. And the second point I wanted to raise, and I brought back the issue of the sustainable development. I'm here representing the Belize Association of Planners, so I always have to come back to planning. And I'm very glad that you highlighted planning within your discussion, because a very quick example. 10 years ago, we were discussing a national hazard mitigation policy for Belize. And it was being done by SEDIMA. At that time, it was SEDERA, I think. And they did all this policy and legislation framework, and there was no mention of planning, absolutely. And I argued vehemently that you cannot talk disaster management and disaster mitigation without planning, because planning regulates land use. Planning manages land use. 10 years post this year, SEDIMA has a new structure. And what is in their structure? Physical and environmental planning. And when I dock up there, they said to me, "Gal, we remember 10 years ago how you argued for planning." I bring this up simply to say that climate change, sustainable development, all of these things are rooted in how we use land. So we can discuss all the other mechanisms of pollution and so on and so forth, but it all ties back into land. Another issue that I am not seeing coming out of this, and I didn't see any mention of municipal authorities. Municipal authorities, village councils, town councils, they are very crucial to climate change. Why is it? Because municipal authorities manage land within their boundaries. There are some deficiencies there, you know. They don't have planning powers. And that is one of the main deficiencies of the Housing and Town Planning Act. It's very centralized, very, very centralized. The meaning of development is very narrow, so it's not modernized in terms of where we are at this point in time. But the village council and town councils and municipal councils are important. Why? If we are starting to move towards smart communities or communities that are going to be better planned and better designed to minimize that carbon footprint, a lot of the adaptive measures are going to be in how we design layouts, buildings, and use lands, and so on and so forth. The way our settlements are taking, our demography is going on in Belize, a lot of our human development is within urban settlements. Whether it is those that are defined as urban, or it is those that are urban in nature, but they are still considered rural. And what is happening right now is that a lot of our villages are moving their population, or beyond that, of towns. There are 3 or 4 villages that are past the size of Punta Gorda town and now Benquevero. And the way they are developing, they are sprawling. That have an impact on climate change, because climate change is talking about smarter communities, more compact communities, using less fuel, and so on and so forth. So I'm simply saying that those are some of the legislation that we need to start looking at, because you cannot take climate change away from human settlements. And when you start looking at the convergence of climate change issues on poverty and the inequities, and you mentioned the issue of just addressing inequities and so on and so forth, you're going to start to have to look at the convergence of climate change and urban growth and development in Belize. And the Housing and Town Planning Act is a major act that can address it, and you're quite right. And so I commend you for bringing it up, because most people discount it and forget it. So I just wanted to share that with you. The last thing I want to